Hello and welcome to Snooker Extra. Tonight we're going to show you action from the second session of the match between seven-time world champion Stephen Hendry and 2007 finalist Mark Selby. Selby held a commanding 7-1 advantage overnight and needs just 6 more frames to book his place in the quarter-finals. If Hendry is to extend this match to a third session, then he needs to get some early frames on the board. Let's join it with your commentators Dennis Taylor and Neil Foles.
Thank you, frame 9. Stephen Hendry to break.
Well, that was a great reception all 4 players had as they were introduced into the Crucible Theatre, and Stephen Hendry gets the second session underway, and really in his mind he needs something like a 6-2 result. Tough old game, Neil, when you play 8 frames, you make a century break and you lose 7-1.
Very much so. It was a terrific session, and I agree with you about this. There's never a bad time to be playing at the Crucible, but there's a real buzz in here this afternoon with such great players on show. And the greatest of them all, Stephen Hendry with, well, not quite a mountain to climb just yet, but needs to get some kind of foothold into the match. Just every time I looked over from the other table, Mark Selby was knocking in balls.
But the beauty about a 3-session match, if your opponent beats you 7-1, you've always got the chance of reversing that scoreline. We've seen it many times down the years. That was a good green to get himself onto this red. And that's a bonus, being able to just nudge that red, because it wasn't potable before he played the cannon. So a good start for Stephen Hendry here. A lot of permutations as to whether he will stay in the top 16. It depends on other matches. That's if he loses this match, but in his mind this match will be far from over.
Well, the problem he's got is he was pretty much hammered by the same opponent in the same round last year. He lost 13-5, so that's becoming a bit of a trend against Selby. But you're right, he isn't out of it yet, although he really needs to come back in a big way against that man this afternoon.
Stephen Hendry, 21.
He had one eye on the cannon there, missed the pot. It wasn't a gimme by any means, but having to play it with side made the pot slightly more difficult, and I thought he'd got away with it, but this red goes in the middle and he can screw back. That's an advantage, being quite tall. And he's got a choice now of going into the reds or playing for the one next to the blue. It depends on the angle. It looks to be a pretty good angle to cannon into them, but let's just see how he goes about this. Well, there's the answer. Could have worked out better. There's one in the middle, one in the corner.
Well, the one that he knocked in to start the break was probably more difficult than this because he was very close to it. This one lands him on the black. It's a very confident shot once again. There's a bit of a swagger about his game. I didn't think was very impressive at all in the opening match against Jimmy Robertson, but of course he won comfortably. But I guess in a long tournament, if you can get through a match like that without being at your very best, and you can save
60.
it for playing someone that's a 7 times world champion over 25 frames, then why not?
I don't know if he's got a little gap here to pot that red and just squeeze between the two reds to get onto the blue. He's looking at the one next to the pink, but I don't think that's available. This may be the only shot that's on for him, but he'll have to go close to the other red to find the little gap. It's a delicate one, that's why he's getting up and down. I think he's trying to find that gap, but how precise will he have to be? Well, he's
70.
How's your luck? Oh, it's not bad. Couldn't play the little stun shot, but what a good kiss on the red that was. You mentioned about the talent that's in the Crucible Theatre this afternoon. We've got 3 world champions and this man at the table who a lot of people have backed to become this year's Betfred.com world champion. And he's in with a good chance this year, the way he's started to play.
That was a good little shot. I don't think he could avoid the red that he just glanced off when potting the blue. The blue spot is no longer available, so this blue has got to go down the middle of the table, but when it's the blue, it's invariably quite easily potted. It certainly pots to the right middle,
23.
and the red that's just above it will almost certainly pot to the left middle from the right angle. So it is a confident start. And a choice of reds once again. The one next to the pink would free that high colour.
$27.
No need to move anything, they're all perfectly placed. Just spotted something on the just in front of the cue ball there, doing a little bit of tidying up.
$34.
Interesting choice. Didn't feel he could quite hold for the pink, so keeping his options open. But the reds are quite well placed, so he shouldn't have a problem getting from yellow to his next available red. And he's kind of come in between shots a little bit though.
36.
Yeah, any shorter in position, he'd have been on the red to the left. This is a bit of a stretch, so there is a bit of pressure on it. Just amazing you can finish in the one place that's tricky on all those available pots.
Yeah, because you know you're bound to be on at least one of the 3 reds, and you don't really give it that much care and attention, but it's amazing, Neil, as you said, how you can find that little bit of an awkward position. But he should be okay.
Well, the problem is, I think he can't avoid the cannon into the red below it. So you just got to make sure he plays it delicately and doesn't push the red safe. Well, I tell you, he made it look like
37.
it wasn't a problem at all.
Well, we know that Mark is queuing well, and the simple fact is Stephen Hendry, when he gets a chance, he's got to make a frame-winning
44.
contribution, and he had the chance to do that. And it was just that black
45.
when playing with side that let him down.
I must admit though, Dennis, when he came to the table, I didn't think this was a frame-winning chance. It was a very awkward opening red. He's constructed these in the kind of way where he looks super confident, and of course he'll be fully aware that if the Hendry comeback is coming, it's going to happen early. So he's going to try and take the sting out of that by winning this frame.
52.
Now then, one more decent shot to play. Black to one of the remaining two reds. He's just had a look at the scores. He knows he wants the black and one more red. It'll be a crucial opener. Now he's got a choice. He could play on the red down the cushion. If you get in the middle of the table on the right, he could possibly land behind the red by the blue. This is a bit of an awkward little shot because he's got hampered with his bridge hand as well on the red that's over on the right. It's a test for him.
Just shows you what you can do with the ball just off straight to create that angle.
59.
And only this red, as Neil mentioned. And he's won the frame with one visit, virtually. And that's in the pocket, no problem at all.
60.
It's just the one mistake, but the way Mark Selby's playing, you can't afford that one mistake. Ahead with only 35 in the table, and every chance of his 4th century. That's why he's played for a high valued colour.
It's very good this, Dennis, isn't it? I mean, you can be 7-1 up and think, well, you know, I've just got to defend this lead, but he hasn't, nothing defensive about this. He's just marching on.
'73. 75.
Very elegant player, Mark Selby. Good to watch. There's the break. 2 pinks, 2 blues, 2 greens, 2 yellows, 5 blacks. The only thing that's missing is a brown, and here comes the brown now.
82. '87. 93.
What a start for the jester from Leicester. The opening frame, he got one chance and he took it beautifully. And Mark Selby has made his 4th century in this match, and he extends his lead now to 8 frames to 1.
An immaculate first frame and an immaculate break-off in the next from Selby. I think Stephen just has to remember the good things in the match. The century he made early on, he's missed a couple since then, but he's been dominated really, and you know that at his best he is able to knock in these breaks, and that's what he has to remember, I suppose.
he didn't want that red to tie the black up, but that's what has happened. Good length with the cue ball, but knowing Stephen Hendry, he'll want to try and keep the game open, even though at the moment it's Mark Selby who's made the 4 century breaks. And there's a red gone the other side of the black now. The yellow and green are a good target to get in behind, but from this side of the table there's no way he can get there. It's quite a thin contact, but couldn't get in behind the yellow from that angle. Needs to be a little bit careful here. You can get the double kiss when playing this safety shot. Excellent length from Mark Selby. Stephen Hendry knows the only way he's going to get a chance is he's got to just try and put a real telling safety in, but Mark Selby just as good as anyone in the game at the tactical side of it, and forces Stephen to come up a little bit short, but no real damage done. The red that he's left, he would cannon into the black. I'm just wondering if the black would pot, he might play to pot the red and cannon the red to the right of the black, but all depends as to whether the black pots. But it's a possibility if the black does go. I think the black might go, and he might just play this cannon if he can get enough screw on it. Wasn't a bad effort.
He hit it pretty well. The black is now out in the open, but not for Selby. Well, what happens is with this game is that even great players, when they're sitting down watching their opponent for a frame, miss chances. It's like they go a bit cold sitting there and don't quite have any rhythm. When the chance arises, he wouldn't have missed that if he hadn't sat out a century break the previous frame, I'm sure of that.
Another chance for Stephen Hendry, and he can hold for the black because the red next to the blue makes it awkward. And once again, a chance to just nudge the red away, the one next to the blacks, just making things awkward around the black spot area. Now the only problem here is the black only pots in the one pocket.
8.
And I think he's going to have to swing this one. And just leave the pink. And the pink spot is occupied, so it'll have to go on the brown, the highest available. So that helps the situation.
16.
Come on, Stephen, just show us what you're made of. You've made 1 century in this match. Let's see a sizable break here.
Nice red to get out of the way.
23.
Black will now be potable to both corner pockets.
24.
Didn't have much angle on that, but it is a good chance, this, and clearly one he has to take. They're not coming along very often, opportunities like this.
$31. 32. 39.
When he pots this, well, he may not be straight on it, but he's got the one next to the blue that's also available. Played for the one into the right corner, and I was going to say when he pots this he would clear the path for the one at the back of that little group of reds, but as you can see he hasn't finished straight on it, so he's having to take the one next to the blue, and the reason for the extension is the red underneath his waistcoat.
$40.
Now he can remove that red and clear the path for the other one.
45.
So far so good. He's really got himself going, and I think sometimes to set smaller targets when your opponent is knocking in big breaks, you get a chance. No rhythm or anything when he started the break. Get to about 40. That's the first aim, and then if he
53.
can convert it into a frame-winning break, and of course he'd love to make a century back. That would give notice that he's still in this match.
54.
But at the moment, it's just about getting to about 70. About 3 more reds will secure the frame, and it'll make him feel an awful lot better.
Well, he's got a terrific amount of pride, has Stephen
61.
Hendry, the 7 times former champion of the world. Eight 1 down will be a little bit embarrassing even for the great man, so he's showing us what he's made of here. Just coming to the stage where he's got to just make sure he only needs a few more pots.
He needs 1 more red, doesn't he? And that's once this black had gone in, of course, which
Stephen Hendry, 62.
don't know if he's a bit jabby on that. It didn't look like his usual stroke. So after this black it was just 1 more red, and he definitely jabbed at that, and to be honest he missed the pocket by some margin.
Yes, what we say in the game, he put a quick one in.
I think you put a quick one in when there's already something about the shot that you don't feel comfortable with. It was a good opening red. I think, Dennis, the quick one is just when the doubt is already there, isn't it? Sometimes it's not the reason you miss, it's the final part of it.
Well, you'd have to say he's still a firm favourite for this frame, Stephen Hendry, but we know what Mark Selby is capable of. But he would have loved to have just killed the frame off there. No, he was concentrating on trying to bring that red into play. And the fact that black has gone up into a safe position makes it very difficult for Mark Selby now in this frame. He can still win at the moment, but Stephen just needing one red, and with the black safe, he's a stronger favourite now.
I suppose there was an argument that he didn't have to play the black because, as you say, once he's missed it and put it safe, it makes him even bigger odds against. And Stephen won't be opening any other reds up. He's already chipped one onto the right cushion, so the clearance isn't really on.
He had a look at the two reds, but clearly they're nowhere near in line for the pocket. This is pretty good. Another roll there and he would have had the snooker. Might try and pot this into the left corner pocket. It's just a safety shot. He looked at it.
I suppose the trouble is, Dennis, you couldn't really pot a red unless he was guaranteed to be on something. That's a pretty good safety shot. He's one of these players who would not have given up this frame at all yet, despite it looking unlikely where the balls are. He reminds me in that respect of Steve Davis, who never used to give a frame up. Even when he wanted a couple of snookers, he felt he had a chance, or he believed he had a chance. Selby's like that. That safety shot is too strong from Stephen. The opening red won't be easy at long range.
Needs to drop on the blue or pink if this red goes in. In goes the red. And does it stop on the pink?
One.
This is a terrific shot. It really is. That's if the pink goes past the green.
I'm not sure he could have played on the pink because he had a look to see if it went after the ball landed. So maybe it's going to have to be something else, Dennis. Maybe the brown.
He's just working out if he takes the brown, what colours he would have to take with the four remaining reds.
Five.
Oh, this would be a very tough frame to win. He can't win the frame without getting the black at some point back in the frame. He needs to pot it early in the break. There's no point in trying to knock in a red and a blue, I don't believe. He's got to try and get the black in play. Certainly the pink at worst. Doesn't have the points to play with.
6.
Yeah, even if he takes all pinks, he'll come up one short. He's still looking at the scoreboard, working that out. If he was to pot this pink, 3 more reds and 3 pinks, I think he'd be 28 behind with only 27 on the table.
9.
Twelve.
This is the problem, isn't it? If he takes red, pink again. He's going to need 2 red-blacks with the final couple of reds down below the brown, which is on the black spot, so it's getting a bit complicated. It's hard to see how he's going to try and win this frame at this visit.
30.
He's going to have to play a clever shot here. He just can't clear up as things stand.
I think he's finished a bit straight on this pink. I don't think there's any way he can get to disturb those 2 reds. Let's have a look at what sort of angle. Absolutely dead straight, so what he'll do here is a little screw back and then look for the snooker.
He might just try and get the black out, mightn't he? I mean, as I say, without that, he's got no hope.
Mark Selby, 19.
It's a funny one, isn't it, this Dennis? But he's in an awkward position here. It's kind of hard to see how he can win the frame. Okay, maybe with, as you say, a snooker he could get there, but it's very difficult otherwise to clear up and win. Even if Stephen leaves him up here, it's kind of impossible for him to win the frame without getting the black off the cushion. And Stephen nearly did it for him there. I mean, even this chance, what does he do with it?
Well, he's either got to miss the pot or take a red colour and then look for the snooker that he's going to need. So it's one of those situations. You can win the frame, and you pot a ball, and all of a sudden you need a snooker.
Well, as things stand, there are 35 points in it with 35 on. So he's just going to graft it out and see if perhaps if he can get any penalty points, or he can find a way of putting the red and landing on the black, but it's going to take a good shot to do that.
Mark Selby, 7.
And that was not a particularly good safety. I feel that he could be in trouble here from this. Stephen could get the cue ball in behind the brown and get a snooker of his own. I suppose the problem with that shot would be he's almost taking the red up to the black, so he won't play it.
Yeah, you can see enough of that, so that is the end of the frame.
Important red then for Stephen, which wasn't that difficult, as Dennis pointed out.
Four on the frame.
Mark Selby concedes. Stephen Hendry with a break of 62 has stopped the rot. Previously he'd lost 7 in a row. He's won 1 now, but he still trails 8-2.
But once again, the black tied up from the break-off shots. It's a pretty good length with the cue ball. No, that's not the best from Stephen. Okay, it's a funny little angle, but you can see enough of the red to take the pot on for the middle.
One.
Good cueing. Not a great deal available though at present.
Foul.
He played it with a bit
tell
more
me
pace,
what.
thinking, well, he could miss the
Stephen
in off, but it looked unnatural, didn't it? That's why I said there wasn't a lot available to him. Yeah, he hit it a little bit harder, hoping to make a different angle for the cue ball, but now let's see if Stephen can knock a long one in here. I don't know if he's going to attempt to just free the black. It's a delicate little cannon if he tries it.
He certainly tried it, and he was up from the shot very quick, knowing he'd missed it. Of course, with ball in hand, he had every chance of playing the shot, but he just felt that he'd moved away from the shot very quickly. He knew it was ill-directed. This is not easy. He's playing right in the middle, and the cushion rail is not easy. Not surprised he missed that.
Yeah, he had to strike down on it and get a bit of stun on it, and he played the positional side of it absolutely spot on. But as you mentioned, Neil, it was always going to be difficult at that pace. this is a bit of a chance because he can screw back for the black here.
One.
Good cueing there, and that terrific pot has given himself a very good chance.
Eight. Nine.
Wasn't a good angle to go into the bunch there. Much better to go into the pink
16.
and reds from the blue. And now he's got the angle on the blue to go straight into the pink full ball. He plays this shot so well, does Mark Selby. He got a bit of a kick there and almost spoiled the position, but it's safely through the correct angle on the blue. So this to open all the game up. He plays that shot as well as anyone in the game.
22.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more, Dennis. This really is how to split them. Everything is spread beautifully. I think he plays it with a lot of stun.
23.
Doesn't want to screw into them. It's a real hard stun shot, which for some reason sorts those reds out all right.
I think he did it he won a world championship. Was it 8-ball or 9-ball pool?
8-ball, yeah.
30.
He's a very talented snooker player, pool player. He just loves playing, doesn't he? And basically, when the World Championships ended, he started playing 8-ball on a more serious level. And at the end of that summer, he won the 8-ball World Championship, which I think a few of the sort of specialist 8-ball players probably didn't like that. But let's be fair,
38.
they're all very talented guys, those pool players. But this is technically a tougher game, so take to it. And there's no reason why any snooker player shouldn't be extremely good at pool.
That's a good point, Neil, because Doug Mountjoy is playing quite a bit of pool these days. He won the European Seniors, and he's going to be playing in one of the Legends Tour dates when we go to Wales. And he was finding it quite easy to play pool because he was a pretty good snooker player, wasn't he? Former UK champion.
He certainly was.
13.
And this is a very important break once again. A chance to keep this huge margin between the two players. Losing that last frame has not set him back at all. He just marches on.
54. $61.
75 points on until now. He's now become 67, of course. So we've got a difference of 58 here. This black and a further red. He's already glanced at the scoreboard, so he knows exactly what's required. And the reason I say that is because occasionally a player might take on something quite ambitious, but it doesn't have to.
69.
This is frame ball.
Yeah, just the one chance required, and he's done it again. And it was a bit of a lapse safety shot that Stephen Hendry played. He should have been back near enough where he was queuing from, and he come up short, but what a cracking long red that he's potted there to start this break.
I think the point is, it was a mistake, but only a slight mistake, wasn't it? And that shows you the standard. I mean, we've seen worse shots played than the one that Stephen played. Okay, it was a slight error, as it was in the first frame when he missed the black using right-hand side. Didn't think he'd left much on both occasions. His last shot in the frame. So this really is a very high standard of snooker
78.
that Mark Selby is playing to in this match.
It'll be difficult, but a possibility of his 5th century, believe it or not, in this match.
$82.
Well, we've had 37 centuries so far in this year's Betfred.com World Championship, chasing a record 83 centuries. But if he can pull a century off from the way the balls were situated here, that will be a bit special. Break goes to 90.
91.
He might be a bit straight on the brown to drop in behind the red. Not quite sure. Has he got a bit of angle to work with? He did, but he got a kick, but it's still going to get over there.
95. $96.
Absolutely stunning snooker from Mark Selby. That's his 5th century in this year's World Championship. The 38th of the tournament.
102.
It's beautiful to watch. And this is the kind of snooker I think he's always wanted to play. He's tightened up in all departments, and for certain periods of the season I thought he was a little bit, not so much negative, but playing so tight in his match play that it was taking away the freedom. But now we're seeing everything. We're seeing top safety, getting Stephen Hendry in trouble, and then punishing his opponent for the slightest mistake. 5th century. He's playing fantastic snooker, Dennis, isn't he?
It's beautiful to watch, because Stephen Hendry hasn't made many errors at the start of this session.
120.
He's made a century and a 62. That's the only 2 frames he's won in the match so far.
127.
Absolutely stunning from Mark Selby. His 5th century in the match, and he extends his lead. It's now 9 frames to 2.
Stephen is shaping up to take this red on. It's added pressure given the state of the match, the scoring of his opponent, and there was no guarantees of getting round the back of there. I must admit that didn't look necessarily a guaranteed shot to nothing. There was a red behind the black, which I'm not sure how Stephen could avoid.
And it's usually the case, the player that's playing really well tends to get the run of the ball. If you're struggling and you take a pot on, you never seem to get away with it. And once again, look at the angle he's managed to force from a shot that wasn't that far off straight.
Nine.
There may possibly be a red this just above the pink that will go. He hasn't got an angle to go into the reds here, and you could see it. And he's played on that perfectly. Well, not absolutely perfect.
16.
But we know that the blue is the best ball to go into the bunch from. Can he avoid the pink and get himself onto the blue? He could, and we've seen what he did in the previous frame from a similar shot. He went straight into the pink. This time the pink's away from the reds, so he can go straight into the reds and open them all up again.
More of a screw shot this time from the angle. Well, that's just sheer bad luck. You kind of know that can happen
Mark Selby, 70.
when you play it in the extravagant way that he does.
Stephen Hendry,
The red has absolutely roared into the left corner here. I mean, it didn't look like a plant, did it? So that was a little touch of bad fortune. Almost overconfidence. You know, he thought, look, I'm just going to break these reds all over the table. Luck's on my side, but you can never be sure of that. Now, once Stephen got left, once he got up his sleeve, he's not played that badly today. But he's been pounded.
Lots of noise coming from the other table. They're in between frames.
Seven.
Oh, he's just overhit that slightly and caused a little bit of a problem. He missed a similar black, only this time he doesn't have to play it with side. The black has gone in, but there's no red available.
14.
It won't pass the blue, I don't think. Let's have another look at this. It looked as if it was going to stay there and then dropped.
Well, he had to put a lot of attention in the pot there. It was missable, and I guess he wanted to assume it'd be on a red, but there were no guarantees. But it didn't matter if the pot didn't drop in. He's having a look to see if it passes the blue. It must be extremely tight. It must be very, very tight. They said 2 or 3 looks at it. Well, we may never know from that. He's missed it on the right side. I'm sure he's got an eye on leaving nothing on, because it might have been half a pocket actually. So from Selby's perspective, the bit of bad luck that he had has not cost him. I think he can get to this red. Just about the only red that he could leave was the one that he tried to roll in. So he could be away again here. I mean, I don't think you can blame Stephen really for being a bit tense on that little chance, because he's just not getting many shots. He's only human, and having sat out another century, the chance came. He didn't look quite right on it. The red over the pocket, he overhit. The black just crept in, and that was where the break ended.
Level.
Mid-session interval coming up after this frame. Standard has been sensational. 2 centuries and a 62 by Stephen Hendry, and
90.
it's quite amazing the standard that Mark Selby's playing at the moment. I don't know what his putt success rate's at the moment, but it must be pretty high.
Yeah, 94%. I mean, that's always, it speaks for itself, really. That a player can get up into the mid-90s, it's always a sign that he's knocking in centuries and, more importantly, just winning frame after frame.
Well, look at the points difference. He's over 1,000 points.
$20.
Even if he clears up here, there's not enough points on to make his 6th century, which would be quite remarkable. 5 is, I think that's got to be a record. That it may have been equal before.
$28.
Just a bit the wrong side of this, but that red on the left is available, so he'll be, instead of just playing on that red, which I'd have thought he would have got anyway, he's playing around the table. Has it got the speed to get on that red at the bottom is the one he played on. If it had gone just a fraction further, he would have been absolutely fine. Just a bit of extra pressure on this, with the lead of 31 points.
$34.
Well, he doesn't really look like missing important shots at the moment.
Just talking about 5 centuries in the best of 25 frame match.
39.
Believe it or not, Mark Selby has done it on 3 occasions, and there's 5 other players have made 5 centuries in the longer match.
$40.
As we say, he's queuing like a dream.